Roe versus Wade has been overturned. Roe v. Wade has been officially struck down. Now, as I said in a previous video, primarily this is Amy Barrett's fault, Neil Gorsuch's fault, Brett Kavanaugh's fault, Samuel Alito's fault, and Clarence Thomas' fault, because they are the justices who voted to overturn the decision. And of course, just as much to blame are Donald J. Trump, George W. Bush, and George H.W. Bush, because Trump, Bush, and Bush Sr. appointed Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett, Alito, and Thomas to the Supreme Court. And obviously, the right-wing ideologues and psychotic people packing the court, that has been a decades-long project. It was supported by the Heritage Foundation. It was supported by all these Federalist Society, right-wing think tanks, all these little cretins. They have been wanting to, and unfortunately successfully, pack the courts with their people, with their religious fundamentalists, corporatists, right-wing extremist ideologues. So those guys are primarily to blame. But as I said, secondary blame does go to the Democrats who allowed the Republicans to do this. Jimmy Carter had 292 seats in the House of Representatives and 61 seats in the Senate for the first half of his presidency. That is a super majority. That is a huge super majority. He did not codify Roe v. Wade into law, even though he had 292 seats in the House of Representatives and 61 seats in the Senate. And need I remind you, there's only 435 seats in the House and 100 seats in the Senate, so Jimmy Carter had 292 of those 435 and 61 of them 100, so come on. And during the second half of his presidency, during the last 2 years of his presidency, Jimmy Carter had 277 seats in the House of Representatives and 58 seats in the Senate. He did not codify Roe v. Wade into law. In fact, he hardly even took advantage of his large congressional majority. He spent most of his time doing neoliberal stuff, cracking down on unions, doing deregulation of the airline industry, being very hawkish on Iran and all those other things. And Jimmy Carter was a very similar president to Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Of course, people like to rehabilitate Jimmy Carter these days. But in addition to all those horrible domestic and foreign policy, need I remind you that Jimmy Carter did not codify Roe v. Wade into law. He did not do that. And then, of course, later Bill Clinton had about 257 seats in the Senate? Well, he had 57 seats in the Senate and a large majority in the House as well. And Bill Clinton did not codify Roe v. Wade into law. Bill Clinton did not codify Roe v. Wade into law. Barack Obama also had a super majority. He did not codify Roe v. Wade into law. And Joe Biden did nothing to codify Roe v. Wade into law. So, yes, the feckless Democrats did not take advantage of their power, and they did not do what needed to be done to protect the country from the Republicans. So when you have a psychotic fundamentalist party, the Republicans, and a very passive and very weak opposition party, if you will, then, yeah, I mean, even with Democrats in charge right now, what are they doing to protect Roe v. Wade? Nothing. That's the point. And so, by the way, Bill Clinton had 258 seats in the House of Representatives during his first 2 years in office. But yes, so, but primarily, a lot of the blame needs to go. So yes, we should, as I said, we should be blaming the 5 justices and the 3 Republican presidents who made this happen, also with all the right-wing think tanks as well, and the 3 Democratic presidents who failed to stop this. But we also need to blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because Ruth Bader Ginsburg knew that she was fragile, knew that she was not doing well, knew that she was probably not going to make it, and despite her terrible health conditions, she stayed on the Supreme Court. She had a meeting with Barack Obama, and apparently he tried to talk to her about maybe retiring so that he could appoint her replacement. She refused. She stayed on, and she died during Donald Trump's presidency, which allowed Donald Trump to appoint Amy Barrett to the Supreme Court. So Ruth Ginsburg being replaced by Amy Barrett, that was because Ruth Bader Ginsburg had stayed on and ended up dying under Donald Trump. So basically, Ruth Ginsburg, if she had stepped aside in like 2013 and allowed Barack Obama to replace her, then that justice would have probably lived on, then the new replacement would have lived on and not died during the Trump presidency, and Amy Barrett would have never been appointed. And so there would only be 4 justices who would want to overturn Roe v. Wade. There would be only Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, so there would only be 4 of them. And that is not a majority. 5 is a majority. So if it's only Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh who want to overturn Roe v. Wade, then they would not be able to because they would not have one more vote. But because Ruth Ginsburg decided to be selfish and stay on the Supreme Court like forever and ended up dying under Donald Trump, that allowed Donald Trump to replace Ruth Ginsburg's replacement, to appoint Ruth Bader's replacement. So that allowed for Donald Trump to replace Ruth Ginsburg. And that replacement is obviously Amy Barrett. So Ruth Ginsburg's untimely death during Donald Trump allowed for that to happen, but Ruth Ginsburg should have known, read the tea leaves, and stepped aside. And realized that, well, I am fragile, and if something were to happen to me, even though I don't know if it will, I should probably step aside for the betterment of the country. But, she didn't have the selflessness to do that. She was very selfish, and so such pride and hubris. But yes, primarily the Republicans are at fault, and of course the Democrats who failed to stop them are also at fault. But the point is, people like John Fetterman need to be elected to the Senate. People like Charles Booker need to be elected to the Senate. People like Mandela Barnes need to be elected to the Senate. There needs to be more people similar to Bernie Sanders in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And of course, progressives have been somewhat disappointing particularly in the House, with them not adopting the right strategies and maybe not just being vocal enough, not being caving too much to pressure, and not doing the right strategies not doing the right aggressive strategies that would help them succeed. But it's very important to elect real leaders, to look for leadership qualities. So I think John Fetterman has that. Nina Turner had that. Of course, she unfortunately lost her congressional race, but maybe she'll run for something in the future. So if we had more people like Nina Turner and John Fetterman, and if they really change the system, then things could get better. So, well, now will the Roe v. Wade decision affect the midterm elections? I don't really think so, although maybe it could, so we'll see about that. We'll see if it gets more people motivated to vote one way or another.